Hey folks, Phil from the future here. My recommended round for this video is round 5. Without spoiling it, something pretty interesting happens. Also, I kind of want to apologize in advance. I was exhausted while recording this video. Moving stuff is very much happening right now. So apologies if I seem a little down or frustrated during this video. Enjoy the show. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today we're going to be playing Rogues. Dauthi sent me a blue-black rogues deck list, which I have edited. The general idea here is to abuse uncounterable initiative creature. Ravenloft Adventurer and Aarakocra Sneak are both rogues, so we have some nice Cavern of Souls synergy here, and the idea is that we can power them out early with Dark Ritual, or kind of play a somewhat control-y blue cantrip game in the short term, and then kind of eventually reach this as our end game. I've made some changes from Toasty's original version, the biggest of which was that there were originally Force of Wills in the main deck, and I just don't think the deck has enough blue cards to support this. Like, this deck is very black heavy, and I think kind of in trying to respect that, I don't think Force of Will is reasonable, despite the fact that it is a good card. And so I've built in some other anti-combo hate in the sideboard to compensate for that, that works at a similar speed. We have a handful of other things that are really going to take advantage of the fast Dark Ritual mana. That's primarily Opposition Agent as well as Dauthi Voidwalker, all of which are rogues. So we're trying to be a little bit disruptive, a little bit in that sort of hate bear category, while still having a decent amount of interaction with our opponent's board. If this deck doesn't work, I think the breaking point is actually the mana base. This is trying to be a Cavern of Souls deck, while also trying to be a deck that plays Brainstorm and Ponder and Snuff Out at the same time. And I thought about just removing all of the Cavern of Souls, but I think if I take those out, I don't know that I'm going to have enough punch to beat opposing blue decks in a long, fair game. This is supposed to be my, like, anti-blue trump card. Uncounterable initiative creature after uncounterable initiative creature as these games go long. So I'm gonna keep it, but I'm real worried about this side of the deck list, not so much the spells that are over here. And while I could remove the blue, like the blue cantrips, if I do that, like, I don't even want to be in blue anymore. Like, Aarakocra Sneak is not a powerful card, just generally speaking, this is a relatively low power level card. I know it has the word initiative on it, so like it's going to be at least reasonable, but relative to other initiative cards, this is a step down. And I think if we were basically just going to play blue for Aarakocra's Sneak, we shouldn't be in blue. So we're going to try to keep the cantrips for some degree of consistency. As far as the sideboard goes, basically, against combo decks, I'm going to look to play a discard-based game with Thoughtseize, Grief, and Reanimates on Grief being kind of the primary way that I intend on winning. I'm kind of going a little heavy-handed versus graveyard-based decks, and I'm going to play a couple of Silver Bullets for the artifact-based matchups. Name Nemesis is a card that I considered putting in the main deck. I was trying to stay away from blue in the main deck as much as possible. I'm playing a couple of Brazen Borrowers in the main just so I don't have to throw them in the sideboard. And I think that's kind of where I'm at. I'm skeptical that Rogue as a creature type is good enough to build around in Legacy. This is my best shot at improving what I was given. I'm sure I missed some sweet rogues. Kind of one of the problems with the rogues as a creature type in Magic is a lot of the newer ones are scaling based on cards in graveyard, and that wasn't really a direction that I wanted to go here. I didn't want to play those like weak one-drop rogues and build a tempo deck around them, because like building a low to the ground tempo deck is very different than trying to cast 4 drops, which is what this deck is trying to do. So that kind of left me in a bit of a weird position in terms of identity, and we'll see if I slap together something playable. Anyway, if you're new here and you like what you see, please consider subscribing, and if you're a regular, throw me a like before the video begins. It is the easiest way to support my content for free. Let's battle. Alright, I am 100% keeping my hand. I'm gonna have to figure out whether this Dark Ritual is being used to cast an opposition agent, or whether it's being used to do something else. I think against Island in a vacuum, I'm going to go for Dark Ritual opposition agent. I may be supposed to do this off Polluted Delta, so it's less telegraphed. Brainstorm's fine. Gonna kind of give up my 3 damage to try to hit that Misty. Dark Ritual. And attempt opposition agent. Daze is unfortunate. My Ponder's awkward after leading on basic Swamp. Tropical Island, maybe a Rogue Delver deck. I don't really have enough mana to accomplish anything cool here. Here's to hoping I don't get stifled. I just need to turn this Ponder into something else. Cavern is cool. Do I want 3 of these? I'm into Cavern. I don't think I'm into Opposition Agent 3, but I think I will take a couple of these. Call that a turn. No removal right now, which is kind of a problem. Also awkward in that I would like to fetch away that other opposition agent, but I'd also like to start playing my creatures off of Cavern Souls, so that's a thing. Yeah, they're calling it a turn. I think I'm just going to play a land and pass so that I can fetch. I just don't want that other opposition agent. Running into a little bit of that mana base awkwardness already. Alright, new land drop. I'll fetch. Blue. Attempt new opposition agent. Oh, there are stifles over there. My opponent did not use on my fetch land. Yeah, and this is this Cavern of Souls awkwardness, right? Like, it does not synergize well with Ponder and Brainstorm. Alright, so we're in Bant. Whereas I was expecting Delver previously. Opponent kept their stifle and didn't use it on my land. Weird. This goes on Rogue. Now I get to start playing these. It occurs to me that I probably should have zoomed in on this card during the deck tech. My bad on that. My brain is kind of mush right now. I think I'm going to play the one that I think is worse first. Do I have a second swamp? I hope I have a second swamp. I do. No immediate Swords of Plowshares. Was kind of expecting something to happen by now. Okay, it is an Uro. I have a Brazen Borrower that can technically answer that. Not exactly what I'm looking to do, though. Sure. Thanks for letting me know that I should go down the right side. Actually, I could play Uncounterable Brazen Borrower and turn it into a 5/5 right now. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think my bounce mode matters quite a bit. So let's scry. Play Thoughtseize this turn into Ravenloft Adventurer and just make good use of my mana, then play yet another initiative creature next turn. That's fine. Thoughtseize you. A Stifle and a True Name Nemesis. I get an initiative trigger stifled. I don't think I want to mess around with True Name though. Alright. Play my Adventurer. Actually, they'll probably stifle my Catacombs next turn, or my Throne of the Dead 3. This one won't get stifled more accurately. Yeah, so they're gonna go ahead and let this one happen. They'll still go to stash. But I've got an Uro coming. I'm not super happy about that. At least I don't have to contend with True Name Nemesis, though. That's a much worse problem. If my opponent gives me the creature for Catacombs. They do. Oh, I guess I'm just getting this out of the way so I can attack. Force pitching Daze. Got it. That's annoying. Stifle is also kind of a problem. I think that just kind of is what it is. Like I just have to eat it and then just hold/retake the initiative. So it's just better to stifle the Throne of the Dead 3 trigger, right? No attacks here. Yeah, my opponent should have stifled this next thing, so that I would have to like start looping through the Undercity again. Prismatic Ending's quite bad for me. Thinking about whether or not I want to chump block. I think I can just safely attack back in combat. Let my opponent have their basic land. Kinda need something else here, though. Basic land is not that something else. It's very unlikely that my opponent can stop both of these creatures at the same time. Let's look at our top 10 here. Maybe not as exciting as I would want it to be. I think I pick up a Dauthi Voidwalker, so that if my opponent plays a removal spell, I can have a removal spell for their Uro. But it's possible I'm just supposed to get a real big Ravenloft Adventurer, that I have a realistic blocker. Unfortunately, I've already searched out all my basic lands. I'll hold this for a brainstorm, I think. I can kill that Uro. It goes to exile, it won't come back. And I start getting extra damage from cards in exile with a hit counter. Alright. Opponent's chilling. I think I'm going to forge. I forge up my flyer. That's just evasive damage that can go through an Uro. That's brutal. Need to hold this back, I think. Let's just crash in with this one. Drops my opponent to 17. I am not super hopeful about this game. Like, my opponent's low on cards and has some, like, bad cards in their deck, like Stifle. That was going to be the literal example card of a thing that I did not want them to draw. Yep. That's very frustrating. 7 damages so much. Kinda need this extra body in play. Ugh, I hate this so much. I need, I'm going to die to trap at some point in this game. Noble Hierarch is getting forged up. Oh, and my opponent drew a live card off the Uro trigger. That's brutal. Oh, and it's a big one. Sure. Oh, that sucks. I'm in the position where I can take back the initiative. But that Caldra is going to murder me. Yeah, I just kind of bottomed out here. Like, I can trap my opponent. I can take back the initiative. So I guess this has to just attack my opponent. Put them to 15. I'll take the initiative. Trap my opponent to 10. There we go. Then drop this uncounterably to draw a card and see if that takes me somewhere. Takes me to Sudden Edict, which is not going to be good enough. I just bottomed out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11 lands seen. No brainstorm. Trying to figure out how I want to approach this. I don't know that I want to go the reanimate route when my opponent has exile-based removal. I want True Name, it's a pain in the butt. I want an extra Sudden Edict as removal. Might even just play more Snuff Out. I'm going to fold the Cauldra. I think I go down 1 Brazen Borrower as I'm boarding up 2 more pieces of interaction. And I need 3 more cuts. Am I trimming Ponders because like my mana base is awkward? That feels a little weird. It's Brainstorm instead. I don't really know. I'm definitely feeling this deck out. Hand's very awkward. I don't know that it's worth throwing back, but it doesn't exactly do anything. I'm gonna try to punch a hole with what I've got here and then get lucky and draw Dark Ritual. Okay. My opponent has no blue mana if I take Noble Hierarch. I think what I'm going to do. Wasteland fucks me though. Actually takes me off of black and Snuff Out. I'm gonna take the Noble and hope that my opponent doesn't wasteland me. And it instead attempts to go to Stoneforge because I'm pretty good at fighting against that. Damn. Well, I called it in the intro. Like, if this deck was going to lose, it was going to lose to its own mana base. Oof. That's the blue mana. Now my opponent. Okay. Under's pretty good there. This is not a swamp. Matters for these. Also does not cast Sudden Edict. So I think despite the fact that I desperately need land drops, I can't possibly keep this. Which is frustrating. Alright. So I'm pretty likely to concede to a Cauldron getting in play, because once like the Stoneforge has activated, Sudden Edict isn't super easily an out to it anymore. I'll have to resolve both Sudden Edict and Snuff Out. So here's the Stoneforge. Alright, life's bad. Come on, swamp, not swamp. I will take one more draw step, and then I will probably just concede if I don't draw a land. I think once my opponent untaps and holds Stifle up so that fetch lands are off, everything is just awful. Dark Ritual, slap in the face. We'll concede here. It's not happening. Okay. This is a hand of Magic the Gathering cards. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to be really soft to Wasteland. And I don't really have a good target for Dark Ritual right now. Not a fan of. Never mind. Life's okay. Try to get our opponent with Dark Ritual Opposition Agent here. Alright. Has to be Underground Sea. Fire off the Ritual. And Opposition Agent. Ooh. Alright, we're going to take a picture of this. Opposition Agent actually now works properly, where you do get to see your opponent's hand and remove red sources from their deck. Okay. So I'm always attacking with Opposition Agent. My opponent can then remove it with a Swords. I'm going to go ahead and Brains. Well, I guess I technically have another land drop. I still think I try to high roll with Brainstorm here rather than Thoughtseize. Hello. I don't have mana for this. This is also pretty mana intensive as well. Let's go ahead and fetch again. Grab another Underground Sea. I will start picking at my opponent's hand. I'll remove one of their Swords to Plowshares. They just have a pile of creatures over here. Alright. There's Flagstones. There's Swords. I'll go back to 19. And I will drop this land. I think I will just Sorcery Speed this Opposition Agent. So there's no possible way this Windswept Heath ever gets a land. And hopefully a pair of Opposition Agents make it so that Sylvan Library doesn't get to do cool Sylvan Library things. Alright. Sure. Are you going to follow up with a Wasteland, or do you need your mana? Okay, yeah, you can take me off that. It was actually much better to take out one of these two cards. Let's battle for 3. And then post-combat, I think I'm looking at a Ponder, attempting to just find more land. Cavern's okay. I'll take it. Not really what I want, but I'll take it. That goes on Rogue. And I'll go ahead and fire off another Thoughtseize. Taking that crop rotation, I guess. My opponent can clear Opposition Agent eventually. Sylvan Library can do a decent amount of work in undoing some of the progress that I've done with Opposition Agent. But not this turn. This can still get removed, like that is very much a thing that can still happen. I am not safe yet. But opponent's dropping to 10, so that's nice. Do I want to bounce Sylvan Library? I don't think so. I think I just want to put another Opposition Agent in play. That's very much my plan. It is fine, I have plenty of removal for that. So we'll drop a new Opposition Agent end of turn. And I'll go ahead and Edict the Night away. I don't have to worry about Dryad Arbor happening, because I control multiple Opposition Agents. Cool, cool, cool. There's 6 damage. Putting my opponent to 4 and hopefully putting this match into my opponent is pretty much deterministically dead territory. Sylvan Library doesn't get to ever draw them a card again, which is nice. I've got 2 removal spells up here. My opponent will need something like a Swords to Plowshares to stay alive. They have it. That can just occur. That puts my opponent to 1. I think I just get this show on the road. It's perfectly fine to tap out for this here. Alright, and my opponent's willing to throw in the towel. So we're playing against the Naya Depths deck. I have some Edicts to beat Merit Lodge. I also have Brazen Borrower as bounce spells. My opponent has 2 Sajiri Step. That's a thing that I'm going to have to watch out for. Trying to decide whether or not I want to rename Nemesis. I just kind of feel like my deck's slow. I'm not usually playing these out on turn 1 or 2. I don't feel like I'm a very good cantrip deck. I think I want to go heavier removal. This is a flyer, that matters. The hit counter stuff could matter. I don't know how good of a brainstorm deck I am. I think I'm gonna gunk those and go threat heavier. I'm very uncertain. Oh yeah, I'll keep this hand. I have a lot of ways to play this, and a lot of it depends on whether or not my opponent has just an innate white source in hand. I think I just go for sorcery speed opposition agent and take my time from there. I think I just never give them the opportunity to fetch around this card. It sucks if they have like white land into Swords to Plowshares, but otherwise this is pretty strong. Okay. Library's not bad. Put a decent amount of pressure on my opponent's life total. I have to be wastelandable here. Don't love that. Cavern on Rogue. Drop a Rogue. We'll keep this from becoming a 3-4. And I'll crash on in. My opponent will get a good number of looks for their other colors. They actually don't have that many white sources, right? It's Plains, Plateau, Savannah, Savannah. They have 4 white sources. Or sorry, there's also Flagstones, Caracas, and the 2 Sajiri Steppies. Alright. That the full damage? Yep. Alright, there's an innate white source. Like to... Okay, great. I found something to do with my turn. Let's drop a land. I think I do one of these pre-combat while I still have this untapped. Endurance can happen. There's 1 in my opponent's deck in game 1. There might be more now. I think it's important enough to play around that I don't attack with opposition agent here. It would just be so devastating if my opponent has it and I play into it. Okay. Wouldn't have gotten damage anyway. So I now have a Swords to Plowshares available. Opponent did not activate Reclaimer, by the way. Oh, wow. They're dead on board to this, in theory. Not in practice. Only one of those. Still leaves my opponent dead in 2 attacks. Alright, I have untapped. Let's start doing stuff. Turn both of these sideways. One gets mazed. Ooh. Sure, that's scary. I don't actually accomplish anything in terms of damage. But I do get to start the whole initiative thing. And if I can make it to trap, my opponent probably dies. So at any point, I can gunk Dauthi Voidwalker for Swords to Plowshares. Oh, and in case you're wondering how I tap the fetch land, there's a Yavimaya over there. I have an island. Alright. So I can put my opponent to 7 here and make it so that they can't tutor up Dark Depths. They have 2 in their deck. I think that's fine. Don't know that it's 100% correct. I think it's fine. Definitely changes my clock. I'm hoping my opponent draws 1 card and then gets blown out by me having another initiative creature in hand. That's a lot to ask for. Yeah. This land's fine. Crop rotation is annoying. This is the scenario that I wanted to still have my... Oh, gross. My Source of Plowshares available. Seems like I'm now interested in scrying. Neither one of those cards is reasonable right now. Bottom both of those. Make a land drop. I have to play this as a chump blocker. I think we're going diagonal here. Go to arena. Attempt to force the attack and see if my opponent messes up. They have a win. As long as they see it, I need them to not see it. They just tutor pro blue and they've got it. I was digging for any removal spell to stop that. Riot Arbor is extra edict protection. Like my opponent found their line. Alright, there it is. That's pro blue. You've got this. I will get to try again. Your name better than Brainstorm here. Your name helps brick knights, but I still lose to tutoring portion unless I also have opposition agent. Yeah, I want a little bit of extra manipulation. Your name is just like bad with Dark Ritual. This is an awkward hand. I don't really have enough mana. I have nice removal, so I guess I keep this. I'm not happy with the hand. Land drop pass. Like, this is the sort of hand that will just get absolutely fucking bullied by Minsk and Boo. After, like, beating up on my opponent's early mana drops. I'm also in trouble if they just drop Sylvan Library. That's fine. I can't pressure their life total to make the library worse. I think this is an ow situation. I'm going to go for basics here. I don't want to get wastelanded. And we are just going for the 4 life here. I have to save Edict for Merit Lodge later. Okay. Here's a combo piece. There's a big dumb card. I can wait to snuff out until my turn. That's a land drop. I think same logic as before. I need black. I do need black for some stuff, but I really don't want to get wastelanded. If I find any land, I can get my last swamp. I think I will go ahead and just sorcery speed, opposition agent, play around everything. Snuff out a knight for 4 life. I am at 10 and my opponent has not attacked me. Alright. Ooh, I did not immediately just lose to Minsk and Boo. Yay. Awkward. My opponent has their 1 of endurance. Would I be willing to sudden edict it? Yes. I think I go ahead and attack. See what happens. Alright, it just worked. With opposition agent in play, I think I can Thoughtseize and drop sudden edict. Ooh. Oh, and the miss on Thoughtseize. Alright. My opponent is running on empty. Yeah, you can have a swamp, that's fine. But I also am kind of in an awkward spot. Alright. 1 unknown card. Rough. Yeah, there's not really enough acceleration in this deck to consistently get to these. Sure. There's the planes that I know about. Okay. Not exactly a bad draw. Not my ideal. What is this gonna be? Alright. They're undoing, they're making a land drop, and then they're retapping. That's fine. Ow. Up out yet again. And I am just going to cast this now. I need to start clocking my opponent, or at least attempting to. Alright, there's a land drop. Be playing Ravenloft Adventurer since it clocks harder. When it goes to 14. I can technically die for making this play, but I think I've just got to put the clock into play. My opponent has some very strong top decks that I don't have any degree of interaction for. Reclaimer's fine. I have to edict it if I don't draw something else good. So this is 6 damage. The Forge damage is relevant. I'm going to go to Forge. I'm going to put it on the Ravenloft Adventurer. No, I guess Endurance is a thing, so I put it here. Another Sudden Edict is massive. We'll take out Elvish Reclaimer, and then I still have a backup one for Merit Lodge. This is 8 damage now, 8 damage next turn, not counting Trap. I think I have weathered the storm. That is a prismatic ending, that's fine. Opponent has said their GGs. Paid their respects. Okay, I am on the draw. I don't have enough mana. I have 3 cantrips. Is it reasonable to use all of my mana for multiple turns to just cantrip to make land drops? I feel like the answer is no, and this should be a mulligan. I think I'm going to ship this, and is much better. I'm going to throw back Edict here, and keep the hand that allows me to be aggressive. Just play Dauthi Voidwalker into Brazen Borrower. The Rainforest. Drop Noble Hierarch, so Daze is a thing that exists. I think playing counterable Dauthi Voidwalker on turn 1 around Daze is acceptable. I think that's fine. Raw Step Brainstorm. My opponent might be playing with Miracles in their deck if they have. Draw Step Stops Set. Something to keep in mind. New Tropical Island. New Noble Hierarch. I wanted something big and dumb to bounce in this turn cycle. But instead I'm just left staring down some Noble Hierarchs. That is what it is. Ugh. I'm gonna play a land drop, preemptively fetch, in case my opponent is playing Stifle. And crash in for 3. Alright, you're at 16. I think they're in a highly favored position right now. Like, I'm not going to be particularly good versus an Uro. I'm going to be particularly good versus Stoneforge, plus some other card. Aldra's soon to be in the castable range. I'll take 2. That's fine. I don't like that I'm not using my mana here. It may just be that I'm supposed to just play Brazen Borrower here and take a Hierarch out of play. Just because such a huge portion of the time, next turn, I am just casting this as a 3-1 flyer. Oh! Well, I learned a very, very important bit of information here. We're playing against Infect, which otherwise would not have been on my radar. Throw this on Rogue. I'm going to keep crashing in, but it may be in a turn or two if I kind of draw blanks. I have to turn this card into a Brainstorm, but I'm not there yet. I, in theory, love that I am a Snuff Out deck here. Little Noble Hierarch that could. I guess I can always yield to these for now. I'm at 13. I'm technically winning the race here. Things can get weird. Go ahead and ponder. I'm probably... That's not bad. So... Draw Brainstorm. No shuffle. Play land drop. Cast Brainstorm. I draw 2 removal spells. Ooh, and Opposition Agent. Put back 2 lands. Preemptively fetch. Get a new Underground Sea. Crash in with Voidwalker. I can technically Snuff Out and Sudden Edict these cards if I have to. Like, if my opponent goes for a kill, I can attempt something that gets rid of these. This Snuff Out can be dazed in a way that's very awkward. If I Sudden Edict first, awkward. I think I do it, though. This denies a mana here. I think I Snuff Out now. It does cost me 4 life, which matters. Okay, it's dead. That went better than expected. Although I expended more resources than I would like doing that. Crash in for 3. Opponent's at 7. They're probably going to fetch end of... Nope, no end of turn fetch. Okay. I will respond to that. An uncounterable opposition agent. My opponent can then fetch with this land instead. Or not. Ooh. Multiple invigorates and a force of will. We're going to take a snip of this. Not really anything fun here, right? Just super basic. Alright, good to know. This is just 6 damage. Yeah, we take that. Cool. So I like Snuff Out here. I like Sudden Edict. Kinda just want to get faster. I think I'm going to get rid of Aarakocra Sneak and play Grief. If I board in Grief, I probably board in Reanimate. Animate on my creatures that get countered is also not nothing. I have to keep in mind that this is an elemental incarnation, so if I end up with multiple Cavernous Souls, that's just something to be aware of. What am I doing? Am I going after these? Might be going after those. Not sure if I'm trying too hard to play this deck like a mono black deck. I just don't have that much time to cantrip, honestly, when things are going well for my opponent, that is. Oh, this hand kicks serious ass. Deep. Doesn't have a removal spell, but it has absolutely amazing lines versus everything that's not turn 1 Glisten or Elf. And I know my opponent doesn't have Wasteland, so I can fetch Underground Sea safely. So let's do that. I have 5 mana to work with on turn 1. I think I start on Dark Ritual into Thoughtseize and see what's going on over there. Or I decide whether, oh, it's multiple Blighted Agents and opposition agent doesn't interact with anything. That's annoying. I think, that's rough. I think I do this. We were ready to punch through like one Blighted Agent. We weren't really ready for Blighted Agent plus Ink Moth and also an additional Noble. Like that's just a lot. Okay, now I'm ready for that. Everyone goes on Rogue. Go ahead and crash on in for my 3 points of damage. Opponent's at 17, and I've got some options. Alright. New Noble Hierarch. Triggers. And if I just Brazen Borrower that back to their hand for right now. I think Petty Theft is worth a lot of time here. I'll just have my opponent recast it, do the same attack next turn, and then I'll snuff out that creature later. It's messing with my opponent's stuff in combat, which is like often something that you don't want to do against this deck. But I think it's what gives me the most attack steps. Ooh, a Glistener Elf as well. Yeah, that's fine. I know my opponent plays Daze. Makes tapping out for this a little more awkward, so I think I hold up these two and snuff out. And just crack in for 3. My opponent tries to diversify their bodies with attacks with multiple creatures. I can do some stuff here. Thought I don't have access to Plague Engineer. Plague Engineer on Phyrexian, or alternatively on Human. Both really simplify things here a lot. I guess I can do this. Triggers. I'll go ahead and snuff that out. Cool. Alright, we've weathered the turn. Let's go ahead and Dark Ritual and then Uncounterable Opposition Agent. This creature very well may end up dying in combat. I think I'm supposed to just be attacking here because my opponent can just make an evasive creature anyway. Okay. Let's play a new rogue. I think my opponent's got the better clock here. And they've got 2 cards they haven't played out. Is definitely scary for me. Happy to see more mana. Not happy to see Ink Moth fired up. It's going to be 4. My opponent has plenty of mana to make it more harmful than just that. Although it did not happen. Nothing fun. Nothing fun. I can Brazen Borrower block it next turn, though. Gonna go ahead and preemptively fetch. Just make sure something like Stifle doesn't happen. Doesn't. I'll crash in. No chump blocks from my opponent. So I'm okay unless Trample happens. I need to dodge one of the 2 Berserks. Yep. Here it comes. I'll drop Brazen Borrower. Do you have Berserk? They do have Berserk. Means I go to 11 and die. I'm more or less happy with how I'm boarded. I can think about playing Brainstorm. Again, it feels like this matchup's so fast. I don't really know that I have time for that. Yeah. This is going to be turn 1 Dark Ritual. I'm keeping this hand. Probably Grief, pitch Voidwalker. See what's going on over there. Or actually, it might be pitch Opposition Agent. Grief, pitch Opposition Agent. Take a card. Dark Ritual. Dauthi Voidwalker, reanimate. Actually, maybe I put Dauthi Voidwalker into play first. I don't really need to take the cards my opponent is playing, though. Yeah, I would rather pitch opposition agent. Let's punch a hole. I'm going to take 2 of these cards. I think I'm interested in Swords as my first one. This gets evoked. I'll go ahead and fetch. Grab C. Dark Ritual. Dauthi Voidwalker. Reanimate target Grief. The second one of these is significantly harder. Become Immense is not the pick with Dauthi Voidwalker in play. Probably just the Noble Hierarch. Like the things that let my opponent be faster. I'm going to kill my opponent in about 3 attacks. So they can play a turn 1 Glistener Elf. I think my clock is just highly superior here. Not fair if my opponent dazed this given circumstances. Yes. Bam. 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 No shuffle. Cavern on Rogue. I will just take this out now. Take the attack for 6. Taking this out now guarantees that my opponent has to fetch with this. Takes 1 turn off my clock. That difference between 12 and 13 is massive. Possible I am supposed to sandbag that card, but with Thoughtseize as my next card, I think I'm just good. So cast this. I think I'll take Berserk. No chances. Attack for 6. Put opponent to 6. I think it takes like the perfect brainstorm to get them out of this. No, I guess like they could have drawn Invigorate and then pondered for Berserk. There's only 1 Berserk left in the deck, though. Okay. Swords gives my opponent a turn. I'll take 1 from this attack, which is not a big deal. I'll drop my land. Put my opponent within lightning bolt range. We'll see if they can kill me. A second Blighted Agent technically keeps them alive. They can trade 2 Blighted Agents for my grief. Let's try to ponder for an out to this. That's not an out to this, but this is totally good enough. No shuffle. Go ahead and fetch. Grab a new Underground Sea. The free combat Dauthi Voidwalker. Back in and prompt the double block. Taking out both of these in process. And again, leaving my opponent in the situation where they're dead on board. They need another Swords to Plowshares. And they don't have it. GG's. For our next round here, a quick thank you to Red Rags, Trax Gaming, and Noah F for supporting my content via Patreon. Thanks, folks. The support means a lot, especially right now when I'm kind of transitioning to doing more content and less teaching. All right, back to the magic. Okay. Is a Thoughtseize good enough to keep this hand? I don't know. I am still very much feeling awkward about this deck. I am just so uncertain about whether I'm playing this deck correctly and about like how much greed this deck can get away with in terms of like mana base, playing cantrips alongside Cavernous Souls, all that sort of stuff. That's a Green Sun for a good old Dryad Arbor. Am I starting on Underground Sea or am I starting on Swamp? I think I'm starting on Swamp. All right, let's fetch. And let's Thoughtseize. Let's see if we're doing some elf stuff. No. I'll take Natural Order. I don't like some of the other stuff that's going on over there, but Natural Order is the scariest thing. My opponent has wished me luck, and they're looking forward to seeing what mistakes they make. Well, your opening hand was better than my opening hand. Tell you that much. Okay, looks like they're going to opt to play Icefang Coatl right now. How do I feel about a land destruction spell? I think I'm on board with that. It's an awkward sinkhole, but it's a sinkhole. So now my opponent will fetch their lands. The Icefang Coatl is not going to do a very good job of having Death Touch, but it is 100% a flyer. Ooh. 100% a flyer that can attempt to take the initiative from me a little bit later on. Or not? I think or not. I guess I'll this in my opponent's turn. Just fire this off now. Are you stuck on land? They got Dryad Arbor, and then they wastelanded me. I'm going to assume that Wasteland is probably not a very big part of this deck list. Like, just looking at Tundra and Bayou, that's 4 colors already, plus a Wasteland. And there's presumably Snow Basics in here as well for this. Okay, that was no shuffle. Found their land. What the follow-up is. Okay, it's just another Ponder. And no shuffle off that one either. I am soft versus a counterspell, but that's, generally speaking, a pretty big draw for me. Going to play the more aggressive one here in hopes that it resolves. Nice. This will be getting me a basic island so that I can actually cast a Brazen Borrower. And we'll drop that into play. Probably going down the right side. Like, I know my opponent has bounce stuff, so stacking up counters here makes a little bit less sense. Ooh, not going for that. Alright, new land drop. Noble Hierarch. Does it smell like danger to you? Smells like danger to me. Go to Lost Well. Uh-huh. Called that one. I don't want those. I just want to naturally hit a land drop this turn if possible. Negative. Okay. Well, that's a little awkward. Alright. Upkeep fetch. I'm going to go ahead and let this thing go to combat. And I think I just hold initiative here. And just petty theft it back to their hand. Rather than just playing out the Brazen Borrower. I think I'm just going to get myself deeper. Because going to stash means that I can cast one of these cards. Okay. There's Uro. Is this Teferi still around? I'm unclear on this. Alright. Extra mana. A new Ravenloft adventure. I have too many 4-drops. Are you still in my opponent's hand? I think let's hope no. Takes Teferi plus one other card to punch through what I'm about to do. Force pitching Brainstorm's very bad. Very gone. Opponent takes the initiative here, which is a pain. I was hoping to generate this extra body from Catacombs. And once I've done that, a singular card has less of an impact on the game. I'm still okay as long as I hit my next land drop, because then I just take the initiative back, create a second body, and then the Uro doesn't necessarily just bully me. But Uro is poised to absolutely rip this game open. And a follow-up Ponder. Fast shuffle there. Okay, cool. Land drop. Excellent. I'm already wastelandable. I will go ahead and go here. I think I want evasion over raw power. So we'll go Aarakocra Sneak. Taking the initiative gives me Catacombs. And then next turn, assuming my opponent attacks, I can just take the initiative back. I might even just chump block to hold the initiative this turn. And not give my opponent the opportunity to forge up an Uro. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I don't want to take 7 here. This just gets me to Throne of the Dead 3, which hopefully does something busted. I have to just worry about my opponent, like, casting Natural Order or even casting Atraxa. That's a Natural Order. Uh-huh. And my opponent gets some cards. Man, that's so many cards. Swords, Green Sun, Wasteland. Swords, Green Sun, Waste. Okay. Uro, Teferi. Got it. I think I really beat this 14-ish power. Yeah, now it's actually 14 power for next turn. Hopefully Throne of the Dead 3 does something busted. Nope. You are fucking late. Missed the land drop. Now that my opponent wastelanded me, I can't deploy one of these. My opponent has 2 pieces of protection from edict-based removal. Gain 7 a turn. This is Vigilant. I'm going to Brainstorm and then probably concede. Like, I can play another initiative card, get another basic land out of the deck, get a shuffle off of this, but where does that go? Too many bodies here for me to remove. I'm at the lower life total, my opponent's gaining a ton of life. I'm going to go ahead and concede here. I think I want to get faster again. This whole grief reanimate thing, I think you just need to like stop these natural order situations that are the easiest ways that I die. Brazen Borrower feels slow. Brainstorm feels slow. Do I need surgicals for Uro? Is that a thing? That might be a thing. Might be playing mono black. Like very close to it. Like 2-ish surgicals. Still don't really know if I'm approaching things correctly. I'm going to keep this hand. My surgical is awkward and kind of makes this look like a 6-card hand. I'm really good at bullying early creatures and stopping a natural order from getting an easy steal. I think that means this is okay. Not the speed at which I would like to play this game if I was dictating the pace by myself, though. Go Swamp Pass. Alright, opponent is chilling. I've drawn an awkward combination of cards. Is what it is. I have partial pieces to a lot of stuff here, but nothing that really is game breaking on its own. It's also a little awkward to just tap out for this next turn. Snuff out helps a lot. Parry this turn would be real awkward. Alright, in movement. This is a bird. The bird that causing my opponent to miss a land drop. I think I edict this. Possible I'm supposed to snuff out it because Atraxa is black and like that's a thing that can come up later. Okay. Immediate fetch, just fetching around opposition agent. Yep, okay. I think we're going for the initiative card here. And I think I do put this on Rogue, despite the fact that there is a Grief in my deck. Because this just gets me my second black swamp. Call it a turn. Might be going right again. Yeah, I'm going right again. Faked my opponent out by making red and white. Made a joke about me casting a Winota. Yeah, that's fine. Might end up snuffing that out. I'm gonna try to avoid doing something like that if I don't have to. On to the Lost Well. The Grief. Kinda want both of these. I'll take the Grief next turn. Pop that. Pop this. Do this. 2 mana Dauthi Voidwalker. Uncounterably. 3 mana Opposition Agent. Uncounterably. I have Snuff Out available. Don't have to snuff out for Natural Order yet. New land drop. Oh, right. Initiative is a thing. Forgot about that for a second there. Alright, cool. Hierarch is fine. Go to stash here. Under this. Fangwaddle. Be playing Snow Basics. I think I go ahead and pitch cast Grief here. Seems fine to take advantage of my reanimate. Double Natural Order. And swords. So I can take the swords. Swords, Noble Hierarch, and shut off these natural orders. Or sorry, I don't want to. My opponent's swords. That's fine. I don't have to give up my Dauthi Voidwalker. I can just. Oh, the natural orders don't do anything with opposition agent in play. Yeah, so I just take swords. Sorry, just fully overthought that. I'll go ahead and reanimate target Grief. And then go ahead and rip the Force of Will out of their hand as their only current functional card. Crash in for 6. Leave myself in a pretty sweet spot. Uro's fine. That's just gain 3 life, draw a card. Because Dauthi Voidwalker exists. I have 9 attacking damage plus skeleton from Catacombs plus whatever is on top of my deck. Surgical's neat. And surgical swords. I need to. No, I do. Because land drop Swords to Plowshares natural order the thing that beats me. Let's go ahead and pay a mana for that. Take out Swords to Plowshares. Yeah. 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 I've got a general idea of what's going on here. I'm not going to take a screenshot. Go ahead and crash in for the full 9. One's at 6, facing down this much damage. Could be good. Ponder's fine. There's a fetch land. Doing anything while this is around. You may absolutely green sun and fetch in response. I respect it. Alright. Playing another game. Surgical is meh. Didn't need it that game. On the draw, do I want Brazen Borrower as another way to bounce an Atraxa that sneaks into play? The Atraxa just comes with like 5 cards though. Maybe that's not the proper approach here. I think I'm just gonna whack submit and hope to have another nice Dark Ritual hand that does something busted. Is not that. And might be a keep though anyway. And snuff out and ponder on turn 1, and then Dauthi Voidwalker on turn 2. I think this is okay. That's just fetching around Opposition Agent, which is reasonable. I'm always fetching Underground Sea. I think I just ponder here. I need to hit future land drops. Those are not future land drops. How is Dark Ritual? I'm gonna say this is a keep. No shuffle. I don't think I grief yet. Like, I start worrying about them at 3 or 4 mana, not 1 or 2 mana. I think I'm gonna have to grief next turn to kind of get a feel for how I need to allocate my resources. Maybe not if they don't play a creature. I don't know, it still lets me know whether or not Opposition Agent is good, which is kind of a big deal. I think I'm gonna grief pitching. Start with Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. No, let's start here. Let's get information. What you got? Oh, Wasteland's horrifying. Is incredibly good against me. Can't take the card that I want to take. I think I take Endurance here and then Ponder, trying to get ahead of Wasteland. Let that get evoked. And see if I can hit my land drop. No. Shuffle that. Never didn't have it. Okay, now what? An Opposition Agent to stop lands, or I can Dauthi Voidwalker and Thoughtseize. Always casting my Dark Ritual. I think I Opposition Agent now. This way, if I don't get Wastelanded, I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to take the Ponder and do this and hope they don't get to green. That was a shuffle. There's the Wasteland. Sure. Hierarch's good. I'm going to snuff that out. I guess I'll take my draw first. I'm not expecting Force of Negation. That's not a thing that I've seen yet. Alright. Fetch. The Voidwalker. Ooh. Force pitch Ice Fang. Snuff out Noble Hierarch, so Uro is not immediately castable. Crash in for 3. My Thoughtseize is awkward now. Ooh. That's annoying. Need my opponent not to randomly get an untapped green source. That was pretty lucky. Reanimate. Endurance. Don't Teferi me. We have gotten the rude from the opponent. Alright. Junk your graveyard. I know my opponent's last card is Windswept Heath, so that's not doing them any favors right now. I've got 6 power in play. God damn it. That's so annoying. Alright. I've got the Thoughtseize for it, so it's not like the end of the world, but that is a major pain in the ass. I think that's such a huge downside for me, taking that line. I have to take the turn off to kill Teferi here. Which sucks, because my life total is very much in jeopardy. On Rogue. It's worth it to cast this and take the 3-4. Alright. So we're back to a top deck war. Honestly, it's pretty even. My opponent... Oh, fuck. Now it's not even. Now my opponent's very favored because their natural orders and green suns are real top decks, whereas they weren't a second ago. The Dryad Arbor in play is negligible outside of natural order based stuff. I think you're supposed to hold that land for Brainstorm, given how close things are here. Oh, this pains me. This pains me, but if my opponent draws natural order and I don't do this, it is a disaster. So there is the full 4 mana snuff out. Now we're in a top deck war. My opponent has more cantrips than I do, and more card advantage cards like Ice Fang Coatl. I'll hold that. This would be a great time for me to rip an initiative creature. Oh yeah, this is horrifying. That's no shuffle. Brutal. I have Brainstorms in the deck right now. Oh, I have boarded them out. I will make that land drop. That is a new Endurance. Trunking my graveyard is very good here. I do have Reanimates. My opponent very specifically finding that Teferi to bounce their Endurance after I reanimated it was brutal. That was the called shot for the thing that was going to beat me. Like, they're flooding out a bit, which is good, but I'm on a 3-turn clock from Endurance. That's not castable. Yep, alright, I have to draw a card that interacts with Endurance on my turn, or I die. Down to 3. Bird's actually pretty bad for me, because now an Edict doesn't kill Endurance. Still technically alive. I have to hemorrhage a card for no real gain. Yep. Now I don't really know what my outs are, because I have to chump block this turn. And then once I do that, my opponent has 2 lethal threats in play for the next turn. Alright. I have bottomed out. GG's. Alright, final round. I'll, I guess, keep my hand here. I'm not super excited about this because it's pretty easy for me to just, like, not be facing a creature deck and this hand to just be too slow. Okay. We're gonna go slow here. My cantrips are gonna feel real bad. We're probably playing against something on the spicier end of the spectrum though, so got that going for us. Wasteland is theoretically possible. Don't know that I'm going to play around it here. Seems like my opponent is going to want to ramp towards something big and dumb. 5 mana. I'll respond to that. Going to potentially Brainstorm lock myself here. I just have like the wrong sort of hand. I'll just put back 2 lands here. I guess burying the Brainstorm's technically better. Land is usable in a way that the Brainstorm is not going to be in most cases. I should have kept that other land. That's my 5th mana for Aarakocra Sneak. That's on me. Alright, that offsets some Ancient Tomb life loss. Oh. Well, actually, this is not all that bad. I'll cast this on my opponent's turn, though. Well, you know, maybe now, actually. Thinking about fogging attacks. I can fog the attack and still hit my opponent for 3 this turn and then cast Wormcoil next turn. No, let's do this like this while I have appropriate amounts of mana. Sacrifice this. Use Wormcoil Engine. Cast Wormcoil Engine. Seems decent. If my opponent has something bigger and dumber. That's an Ensnaring Bridge. Presumably. Yes. Okay. We're gonna have to go the initiative route. Which is fine. Play Aarakocra Sneak. Got some basics in there. Already made my land drop. I have a 1 power thing that can technically attack. My opponent can't lattice me, because I would just attack and kill Karn, at least as of right now. Okay. Ugin. Ugin does stuff. Alright. So, doesn't gain life, right? It doesn't gain life. Go to Forge. Forge Wormcoil Engine. Play a land drop. Go to combat. My opponent has 1 card in hand. I will attack them for 1, bringing them to 5. We'll then play Aarakocra Sneak and trap my opponent, which will kill them. Okay. That was cool. That was a cool turn. Cool game. Energy Flux. Solid. Urkel's Recall. Solid. The Grief Reanimator package. Probably solid. Wormcoil Engine. Sudden Edict was very important there. Won't necessarily be important in a lot of other cases. I probably go down on removal. I also probably go down on 1-drops, since my opponent is playing Chalice of the Void and Sphere of Resistance. Try to effectively dodge a little bit of that. Probably Urza Saga's over there. My opposition agents aren't very good. Like, their biggest upside is that they're castable off Dark Ritual. I can probably get rid of them if I board in a couple of extra threats, and I go down 2 removal spells of some kind. I think Sudden Edict, since it costs mana. Place that with Snuff Out. Yeah, this is a keep. It's a little soft to Chalice on 1, though, in a way that I don't like. Every time. Alright. Is Grief just a card this turn? I think Grief is a card next turn once I play Dauthi Voidwalker. I think I'm just going to go Underground Sea and pass. We'll see if I regret that when my opponent just plays a 4-drop, but like Dauthi Voidwalker into Grief can do some very dumb things. 3 mana. That's okay so far. There goes City. Opponent's at 21. Got 5. I don't know this card. First Strike, Protection from Multicolored. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice it unless you discard a card. When you discard a card this way, destroy target non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value less than or equal the mana value of the discarded card. Got it. That was not on my bingo card. Non-land? Non-land. Yeah, I think I just Brazen Borrower that out of play after my opponent discards a card. Yeah. Island Pass. This is just like the old Rotting Regisaur thing in reverse, where I let my opponent discard something and then take out the creature. That comes in. Petty Theft that out of play. And hopefully just turn the corner on this game by being the one who can play threats. Cloudpost is a great draw for my opponent. I mean, they could have had it already. Goes on Rogue. Drop Dauthi Voidwalker. Grief, pitching a Thoughtseize. Oldoltha Forge Master. I'm thinking about taking the Masticore over that, but I just like lose the game if Forge Master ever activates. I think I take that out. My hope is just that I rip a land to be able to play this. Alright, can't pay life to cast spells or to activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. Okay. And board wipe on a stick. Got it. Take my damage while I can. Brazen Borrower can hang out in exile for a little while. Kind of force my opponent to remove this, and then I can play that card. My Flooded Strand is not currently a valid mana source, which is not great for me. Alright, my opponent's just going to take that damage. Again, this is not an active card currently. Alright, my opponent is going to untap a Grim Monolith at end of turn. Alright, there's the Masticore. What's my plan here? Am I playing Brazen Borrower now? Trying to get my opponent to pop this so I can fetch and do this? Awkward in the face of a 5/5 first striker. I'm not really the beatdown, and I'm not really doing my thing unless I cast this. Not a fan of giving my opponent this 2-for-1. Oh, that's a great draw. Kind of. Kind of a great draw. I can't currently pay life for it because of Karn Silex. Alright, my opponent's at 9. Awkward. If my opponent gets to nuke one of my cards. Staff of Domination. Sure. I am currently outracing this thing, but my opponent's draws may or may not actually kill Brazen Borrower. We'll try. May have lost this one for not playing Brazen Borrower a turn earlier. See what they discard. Okay, Chalice. That does not answer Brazen Borrower. Again, we're trying to find the situation where they pop this, and then all my stuff is unlocked. Dauthi Voidwalker is not bad. Alright, crash in. Opponent goes to 3. If I play Dauthi Voidwalker, my opponent opts Karn's Silex, I give them an extra card. If they just have... I think I need to force it. That's very awkward for me. But I think I need to force the issue here. Okay. Damn it, I would have gotten away with it. Alright, I eat 5 here. Opponent is forced to do this on their turn. Or they can do it now, I guess. It's fine. Turns on my Aarakocra Sneak. Don't need to fetch immediately. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana without fetching. 8 mana with fetching. I believe is uncounterable Aarakocra Sneak and pay for Snuff Out. Let's go. Yaw. Yaw. Cast it. Take out that creature. Play the Aarakocra Sneak. This will kill my opponent next turn. Also, to find island, play island, cast Ponder. No. Absolutely shuffle that. Another Snuff Out is wonderful. That means that I kill through a flying blocker. Okay, I don't kill this turn anymore. Glimmer Post keeps them alive. That's very annoying. Because now they don't die to trap. They get to play Ensnaring Bridge. Okay. I think that decision is going to get them killed. I'm going to hardcast this Snuff Out. Put a Forge. Forge this. Cast Snuff Out. My opponent will shoot me for 2. Yes. Yes. And next turn I have lethal with Aarakocra Sneak and Trap. And I can take the turn off to kill Karn. Alright, need to fade 1 draw step that deals me 2 damage or otherwise produces an Ensnaring Bridge. And we did it. Trap. Trap target you. Opponent goes to 2. And attack them for lethal. That ends the league with a positive record. Alright, that's going to bring me to the end of the league here. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I don't like it. I feel like this deck doesn't have a good identity. It feels like a weaker version of the mono black list in that your mana base is considerably worse and strained, and the strength of these cantrips are lessened a ton by the fact that you have 6 lands that don't actually cast them, and it makes your fetch lands a little bit more awkward in terms of sequencing. If you are like playing Cavern to work towards Dauthi Voidwalker or something like that, and then you need to pivot and do some Brainstorm Ponder stuff, it can be awkward. Caverns and islands don't work towards Snuff Out, so kind of like I identified at the beginning of the video, the mana base is super questionable. I also just don't feel like the payoff is there, and I think the easiest way to like show this off is, what are you hoping to hit off Throne of the Dead 3? Right? Like, what's your big hit? Is it your 4 mana cards that are not as scary as the other 4 mana initiative cards? Like, these in comparison to Seasoned Dungeoneer, it's a pretty big gap. Like, a Dauthi Voidwalker with some +1/+1 counters is pretty cool, but I don't know. I don't feel like this deck has impact in the same way that a lot of other Legacy decks do. I'm also not convinced that I was piloting this correctly. Like, maybe I'm wrong and this deck is better if I play it with the cantrips, but it just felt like I'm trying to work towards this speed, like these 4-drops, and every turn that I spend brainstorming is a turn not spent setting. Like, if I have 4 mana, I want to use the 4 mana towards Ravenloft Adventurer. I don't want to use that mana towards brainstorming. And given that like Brainstorm and Ponder don't work with the Dark Ritual mana, I just kind of felt like I was in an awkward space with this deck. So this one's not for me. I am glad I played the league. But I think if I were going to try to play this again, I would want to be a Chrome Mox deck so that I can go faster and work towards my big and powerful things. But I don't see Aarakocra Sneak stealing games as easily as something like Seasoned Dungeoneer or Caves of Chaos Adventurer, so like maybe even that isn't worth exploring. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on the way out. It helps out a lot. I hope you have a great rest of the day. And if you have any thoughts about the deck list or whatever, throw them in the comments and I'll take a look. And I'm sure Toasty would appreciate them as well. All right. See ya.